Woof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we're back with another video. Now in 15th place for the books that I'm most looking forward to in the second half of 2022, I'm gonna go with Predator Volume 1. Out of Alien and Predator, I've always been a bigger fan of the latter, mostly because of the fact that I watched every Arnold Schwarzenegger film religiously when I was about 7, and when Dark Horse had the license, I read quite a few of these books, and I always enjoyed my time with them. And it seems like this omnibus has got a lot more content, so I'm really excited to get my hands on this, and I just hope that they continue with the line. Number 14, in a book that I know a lot of people were annoyed about when it got announced, but I don't care because I absolutely love this universe, because it's Ultimate X-Men Volume 1. I'll be honest with you, I did not think that we were going to get this title. I'm uncertain if we're going to get a Volume 2 or beyond. It seems like Marvel's really good with that at the minute, so I do have hope that they would complete this run, but either way, I am just very excited to go back to the X-Men books that were coming out when I was first getting into comics. Yes, older generations might hate the Ultimate Universe, but at the end of the day, you don't have to read everything that's published. And I also hope that we get the rest of this line, even if it's stuff like Ultimate Fantastic Four. The rest of the Ultimates is stuff with Al Ewing and Jonathan Hickman, and for as awful as it was, I'd even buy an Ultimatum Omnibus if it just had all the crossovers and tie-ins with it. Yeah, actually, maybe that's a bit too far. Number 13, I'm gonna go with SpiderMan 2099. Yep, another Marvel book that really getting a combo going in this video, but mate, I just feel like this is proof that we really are in the golden age of collected editions. Because I never had a chance to read the full original Peter David run of SpiderMan 2099, but I have read quite a handful of issues out of this, and I just really love this character. I am wondering if they're going to continue doing other 2099 titles in Omnibus, but the Spider-Man title is the one that stands above the rest of everything else, and I'm just glad that I can finally go back and read everything about it, even though I believe this is a volume 1, so I probably would have to wait till this is finished out. But I did recommend this in my recent Where to Start Spider-Man, so of course it's going to be a title that I want to pick up. Number 12, yet again another Marvel book, because I'm going to go with the Immortal Iron Fist. It's got a longer title, but I can't remember it off the top of my head, but this is a book that I've already got in the complete collections, and I will happily upgrade just because of the fact that this is an expanded version of the original printing. So from the solicitation, it looks like it's going to include everything, and I absolutely love this run. It was my introduction into the character. I think this is a very underrated series. It did drop off a bit in quality after Ed Brubaker left, but either way, anything that connects to the street level Defenders team is something that I'm going to be interested in, and this is no exception, and I cannot wait until this is printed. The art's fantastic. It really ties into the lore and the heritage of the Iron Fist, and I just think that this is the best modern jumping on point for this character. Number 11, and it's Marvel once again, because I've got XFactor by Peter David Volume 2. Now it's a bizarre story about how I ended up reading this, because the stuff that's included in this second volume was my first introduction into this team, and it was only because of the fact that this was coming out around 2006, 2007, when I was first starting to visit a comic shop, and I thought that it was a crossover with the XFactor TV show. And even that doesn't make that much sense to me, because that was one of those background shows that I didn't really care about. So I have no idea why I ended up picking up this series, but I'm glad that I did, because it was one of my first exposure into some of these different kind of superhero comics. I love all the private investigation stuff that's included in this, whilst you're still featuring all these characters that you kind of know from the X-Men universe. Madrox is just this really weird character, and I like the identity crisis that he's going through. And now that this is getting an omnibus, I'm hoping that I can go back and read it and hopefully get an extra layer of depth that I didn't have when I was first looking at it. I'm really glad that this book exists, even if I do wish that they'd just change the title to something like X-Factor Investigations. But either way, I've already got that volume 1 now, so I'm not really going to complain about it too much, which yeah, I know is quite surprising for me. And this was one of the ones that I was most excited for, and if you want to pick up this omnibus or any of the others that's going to be listed on this video, you can get them from the channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. They've got great packaging, fast shipping, and amazing customer services, and if you use code WOOFWOOF, you'll get $2 off your order. And if you're ordering 3 or more books and you want them to be delivered together, make sure you use code WOOFWOOF, ship it together for 5% off your entire order. Don't worry, you can just copy and paste them from the description down below, and you can use these codes as many times as you like. Number 10, and it's time for me to really get my nostalgia glasses out, because I'm gonna go with Avengers vs X-Men. Admittedly, I'm already reading this at the minute on the Marvel Unlimited app, because I'm gonna do a summer of events so that I can just check out a load of these titles. So who knows, if this doesn't hold up now for me, maybe this will get deleted off this list, but for the minute, I just remember all of the good times that I had with this. There were so many dumb, stupid moments, and I think that this was something that comics were missing at the time. You don't have to take this too seriously. If you hear a matchup like Iron Man vs Magneto, you think you might know exactly how that's going to go down, but this just took it for a wild ride. And sometimes in the dreary, miserable world that we live in, that's the book that I need. Number 9, and I promise you that some DC book books will make it onto this list, but I'm gonna go with the Venom Omnibus by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman because his art is a major factor in this. The first hardcover of this omnibus was one of the best books that I read in 2020, and I'm glad that this run is finished out, even if I do wish that this could have gone on for years and years and just give us the most definitive Venom story. Although in saying that, this is tied with Rick Remender anyway, and I hope that that gets an omnibus at some point. I've really wanted that for a number of years. It just seems like we skipped over that run. But I know we're also having a King in Black omnibus, and admittedly I might end up picking that up as well because I've already got Absolute Carnage, and I'm going to do a double dipper skip on both of those books so that you can clear up any confusion and make sure that you're not buying something unnecessarily. But this really was a return to form of Eddie Brock back in this role of Venom. He'd been missing for quite a few years, and this just takes him on a journey, so you see him interact with characters like Miles Morales. You've got the introduction of all the lineage to do with the symbiotes, which does tie into all of these massive events, and it was just nice that for a bit of time Venom was the one that was leading the Marvel Universe. Number 8 in an omnibus that I didn't think that we would get, but it's going to be the Savage Avengers. This is one of the rare titles that I've actually got single issues for, and I absolutely love this. I'm not sure what I don't know the legal side of all of that, and if they're still allowed to print this because of the fact that it isn't listed as Conan. But some of my favourite characters that you never really see in a team-based book all feature in this. So you've got Venom, you've got the Punisher, you've got Elektra, you've got Wolverine. And when I was reading the single issues, I remember thinking to myself, why is this title not talked about more? Obviously, slapping an omnibus logo on the side of the spine means that more people will pay attention to it, and I hope that people discover just how great this series is. As well, last I checked, this series isn't available on Marvel Unlimited, so it's one that I definitely know that I need to pick up day one. Number 7, I'm gonna go with Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters. Ever since Marvel started printing Star Wars titles again in 2015, they've just all been great. I've yet to read one of these that I haven't enjoyed, and I'm hoping that them having a crossover event is going to be no exception. Even the stuff that I didn't feel was top tier, like Charles Soule's run on Darth Vader, was something that I still gave a very high score to. And as an event apologist, I am very excited for this. I hope it lives up to the standard of everything that's come out before it. And I might get ostracized from the Star Wars community for saying this, but I have yet to watch The Mandalorian, so I haven't really got too much experience with the bounty hunters in Star Wars. Sure, yeah, I like Boba Fett, he's cool, he's got a jetpack, it's got a missile on it, what's not to like? But the thing that I love most about Star Wars is that you feel like you're never going to know the full story. So this hopefully will broaden my horizons, and I'm just glad that it's getting an omnibus. Number 6, and if you're only a DC fan, your patience is finally going to pay off with this list, because I'm going to go with the reprint of Sleeper. Yeah, I know this is technically Wildstorm and Black Label now, but I am so excited that this is getting a reprint. It's the only reprint on this list, and it's with good reason. This is the only Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips deluxe oversized hardcover that I haven't got. There was a listing on eBay before this got announced that was very heavily over cover price, and I was just tempted to buy it. I'd have been so annoyed because apparently the binding isn't that great on the original copy. Hopefully that's something that they fix for this one. But everything that I've read from this duo I've enjoyed. I believe I actually had the first trade paperback of this when I was younger, and more than anything, it's just to complete this shelf. It's been annoying me for years that there's been something missing. Number 5, and a book that I know is already going to annoy me when I look at the spine, because I'm going to go with American Vampire Volume 2. Yep, I had the original printing of Volume 1. It proudly says DC Vertigo, but I know that Volume 2 is going to be Black Label. Either way, I didn't know if this was ever going to get printed, so I'm just glad that it's going to be here. This is one of those very underrated series, and I almost feel like it's the swan song for Vertigo Comics, so I am very excited that this is finally being completed. This started when Scott Snyder wasn't really a big name in the industry, but now looking at it nearly 10 years later, he's one of the best that we've got working. So this really feels like his passion project, and I'm just glad that he got a chance to finish this out, especially with the fact that Vertigo Comics doesn't exist anymore. And I can't wait for this volume 2 so that I can go back and just read this start to finish. Number 4, an omnibus that I thought would never exist, because I'm going to go with Miracle Man. And fun little fact, that's actually the shorter version of the title, because the long version is, that's getting an omnibus. Wow. That's a miracle, man. But yes, the series that was written by the original writer. Is that seriously happening again? It's finally getting an omnibus. I was so tempted to pick up those 3 slimmest, shorter hardcovers, and then they started going out of print, so I'm really glad that this is finally coming out. People often say that this is Moore's greatest work, and considering some of the other titles of his that I've read, I'm going into this with high expectations. Maybe I'm going to get disappointed by this, but I'd rather be disappointed by paying this price than I would if I had to hunt down all the single issues. Number 3, and another book that I'm just so happy to say is going to exist, but I've got The Flash by the man himself, Mark fucking Wade. I am so excited that this is coming out. It's one of my favourite Flash runs after probably Jeff Johns. And this to me is the pinnacle of Wally West. It was coming out in the 90s, so it is fun, it's light-hearted, but at the same time it manages to take itself seriously. And who knows just how far they're going to take this. I don't know if they're going to include Impulse later on, but whatever they decide to print, I am in. And I just hope this isn't a situation like the Jeff Johns Omnibuses, that they originally print it in a certain way and then they decide to re-release it in a better way. Because knowing me, I'll buy both. Number 2, and again, all the stories that I read when I was younger just coming back in this beautiful format, because I'm going to go with Batman No Man's Land Volume 2. Yep, I'm still waiting for my copy of Volume 1. It seems like there was some kind of shortage, and Speedy Hen are adamant that they are going to eventually get this in. But No Man's Land is one of the greatest comic events of all time. The fact that they had so many different Batman titles all come together for one storyline, and it actually work and not be awful, is just so impressive. I'm hoping as well that they do continue with later Batman storylines. Like, I'd love a Murder Fugitive Omnibus, but I'm also just happy with the content that we're getting, and I was really surprised that we even had a Road to No Man's Land Omnibus. And in all honesty, it just seems like DC's really on point at the minute. Like, they're not bringing out a ridiculous amount of omnibuses, but near enough everything that they announce is something that I'm interested in, which is both really good for my collection, but really bad for my wallet. Before we jump into my number 1 pick, I'm going to give some honourable mentions, and there's 3 things that are guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Marvel pushing the date back on their omnibuses. So when I did the first version of this video looking at January to June, I did include a few books that have been pushed back and would have been included in this, but to make it a bit more interesting for myself, I just decided to include books that I haven't mentioned before. But still, there's a lot of titles that just haven't come out yet, so I'm talking about The Young Avengers by Alan Heinberg, I'm also talking about Black Panther by Ta-Nehisi Coates and Knights of Pendragon, and DC isn't entirely innocent in this because I'm also including the Justice League New 52 Volume 2. And as well as an honourable mention, I'm just going to include Spider-Verse and Spider-Geddon. This just straight up didn't make it into the top 15. But my number 1 pick that should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody, there was no book that I was looking forward to more than this, because it's gonna be The Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2. Now, to address the elephant in the room straight away, this does apparently have a release date of the 27th of December this year, and there is a very high probability that this gets pushed back into next year. But either way, as long as it doesn't get cancelled, I am going to be very happy. I absolutely love this series. I've already done a video talking about why it's just the best, and the stories that are contained in this second omnibus just propel this character even further. You've got the stuff with the Ultimate Six and Carnage, and there's also a really weird crossover with the movie. It's just unfortunate that there's so many great omnibuses that are coming out, but they are all going to be overshadowed by the second volume of Ultimate Spider-Man. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. In the comment section below, let me know what the book is that you're looking forward to most. But until next time, just make sure that you stay safe and stay mad, all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.